welcome to the CNN News Channel. Today we have some breaking news. It's 1968 and Nixon has just won the presidential election. Now we're here to tell you why.
So, many of you may be asking, why did Nixon win the 1968 election? Here's a few reasons why. Nixon appealed to the middle-aged, middle-class, and middle-minded. In other words, those who opposed the 1960s radicalism and change.
He also had new electioneering techniques. He improved his rhetoric, he limited public appearances, and he didn't impress the flesh. He also kept his tan topped up.
Oh yes, this was him before, and this was him while in Florida. So, the Southern strategy. After Johnson had played a massive part in ending segregation in the South, many Southern white voters no longer felt at home in Johnson's Democratic Party. Nixon wooed them by promising to slow down the pace of school desegregation in the Southern and in the South, and by rejecting President Johnson's policy of cutting off federal funds in schools.
And also the Vietnam War. He promised peace with honor, and he promised to phase out US troops and end the draft. It was also seen as Johnson's war, which damaged the chances of his opponent, who had been the vice president.
Of course, many of you know about Nixon's daughter Julie and Eisenhower's grandson David getting engaged. They gave Nixon a big political boost. It must have been love, love, love.
Good afternoon and welcome to CNN News. We have breaking news now for you. And it's good breaking news. Nixon has been re-elected. Now, you're probably wondering why this was. Now, a lot of it was because of the Vietnam War promise. He promised that he would end it because on the eve of this election, his national security advisor announced that peace is at hand.
He also had the support of Middle America. He did attempt to restore law and order and continued to be against counterculture. Everything Middle America was about, therefore Middle America voted for him again. Good afternoon and welcome to CNN News. Today, on 8th of August 1974, Nixon has resigned.
It's all of a result of the Watergate scandal, which happened in June 1972. 17th of June 1972, 5 burglars were arrested in the offices of the Democratic Party in the Watergate building, Washington, D.C. However, they were not stealing from the offices. They were planning electronic bugging devices.
One burglar turned out to be a former CIA member.
And all 5 turned out to be connected to the Committee for the Re-election of the President, set up by President Nixon himself.
Creep.
And then you get on to, phase 2, if you call it like that. In January 1973, the Watergate burglars went on trial and all were convicted. However, in March, when they were sentenced, one of the defendants claimed in court that the White House was covering up his involvement in the break-in and that the witnesses had lied during the trial.
So you're saying that Nixon was involved?
Yeah, well that's how it appeared at that point. And then, with the battle of the tapes, it was proved.
Phase 3, the battle for the tapes. On October the 12th, 1973, Nixon tried to undermine the investigation by getting the Attorney General to sack Cox. Cox was indeed sacked, but the Attorney General himself also resigned. In December, Nixon released some tapes, but one had an unexplained gap of 18.5 minutes. The argument continued. In April 1974, Nixon gave the investigation 1,200 pages of the transcript of the tapes, but they were heavily edited.
This led to the Supreme Court ordering Nixon to hand over the tapes. They revealed conclusively that Nixon had been involved in the initial campaign of dirty tricks, and throughout the investigation he had repeatedly tried to cover up the truth.
Which leads to today, where we all know Nixon has resigned.
Good thing for him he resigned then, because otherwise he would have been impeached, because an opinion poll showed that 66% of the American public were in favor of impeaching the president.
Oh, wow. Goodbye, President Nixon, and hello, President Ford. This could be a new America.
Thank you, and good night. Good afternoon, and welcome to CNN News. Today we have our first election debate with the one and only President Ford. On the eve of the election, we are welcoming him to get his views on the situation. Oh! Are you okay there?
Good evening, I am President Ford.
Oh, good evening, President Ford. It's an honor to meet you.
Excellent.
Okay, so I've heard that you're a normal guy and your son takes weed and your daughter even wears jeans in the White House. Jeans in the White House?
Holly, I even wear jeans in the White House.
Well, that is totally, out of here. I also heard about Benny Part of Nixon. Tell me about that.
Well, I thought it was the right thing at the time. He would have been in a financial problem, and I'm a nice guy. That was the best thing to do at the time, that's what I thought. Pardoning Nixon.
Don't you think he lost you a lot of votes and visiting when he was ill?
I know, but come on, he almost died. What? Can I not visit an ex-president? What would that make me? An evil man.
Well, we'll see what
We'll
happens
see.
in the election, whether it's custom
Vote
votes and that.
Ford. Vote Ford.
So anyway, congratulations in the party election where you won against Ronald Reagan. That was very impressive. However, we'll see how you do against Carter. Good luck.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you, President
You-
Ford.
Two. And have a good day.
You too, don't fall over too much. Thank you and good night.
Good evening and welcome to CNN News Now. Tonight we'll be debating President Jimmy Carter and how he was either unlucky or just a plain stupid president.
So I'm going to be saying that he was just a plain stupid president. I mean, he only just won, and he was, after all, a peanut farmer. He was farming these things.
These things are called cashew nuts, not peanuts.
Moving on.
So, how can you argue that the energy crisis was his fault? We were in. Is it our fault that OPEC raised the oil and Iran was in a revolution?
I suppose not, but Carter's legislation was diluted so much by Congress that it just wasn't recognizable anymore. And I mean, if he'd had a better relationship with Congress and tried more, then maybe this wouldn't have happened, and he'd been better. And also, on the revolution thing in Iran, okay, so that led to the Iran crisis, where there were 60 hostages, and okay, that wasn't his fault. But he did do the failed rescue mission, where this ended in 8 US troops dying and 4 being seriously injured when the helicopter caught fire. It's just not acceptable.
But the economy and inflation, that wasn't his fault, surely. Well, okay, past presidents went to Vietnam and the war and everything, but surely he just has to carry the burden. It wasn't really his fault.
Okay, that one I'll give you. But come on, he wasn't a very good president. He was a micromanager. The tennis courts. Come on, in his first 6 months, he took all the requests. What sort of president does that when your country has a huge financial deficit and all of this? It's not acceptable.
Fair enough. Okay, unemployment. How could that one be his fault?
Okay, well that can't really, but again, he just didn't give good enough legislation, and he just wasn't up to the task of dealing with it like future presidents might be. Like hopefully in this next upcoming election we'll have a better president who can
Who,
So,
like Reagan?
oh wow, who knows? He might be a lot better than Carter.
And the Cuban refugees, what do you say about that? Because I think that wasn't his fault either.
Okay, but he did have a brother which caused the Billygate scandal. And Billy was widely viewed by the press and the public as a fun-loving, average American, but he was a bit of an alcoholic. And he violated a federal statute by accepting a $220,000 loan from the Libyan government, considered terrorist by the US government. He can't even keep his brother in order. How can he keep his country in order?
His brother, exactly. What he does and what his brother does is completely different. After all, he did win the election.
Okay, he did, but there was a very narrow victory against Ford. Very narrow.
And what percentage was that?
Actually, it was 49.9% to Carter and only 47.9% to Ford. So that's only 2% difference. 2%.
That's a very low election outcome, voting outcome.
Yeah, there was a very, very low. Few people voted.
Isn't that lower than when Nixon and the whole watergate?
I think so.
Oh, wow. You could argue about the whole Camp David Accords. He did do pretty well with that.
Oh, I'll give you that. That was one good thing of his presidency.
And the national parks.
Okay, I suppose. But who really wants a national park?
You never know what will happen in the future.
Okay, well, fine then. I suppose he was a reasonably good president, but he did have quite a lot of problems. And these were his own fault, as well as being unlucky, I suppose.
I suppose. Agree to disagree?
Agree to disagree.